So good evening, guys. Today is the last day of the operating system boot camp organized by Access. Today's action plan is about we will learn about disk management. The topics are as follows: the file system directory, file directory, secondary memory architecture, file allocation and access methods, disk scheduling, and free space management. So let's start. File system. So what is file system? File system is an important part of OS. It is responsible for the file management. It provides a mechanism to store the data and access the file contents, including the data and programs. If there was no file system in our operating system, we would have uh, we, the storing and accessing the data and our contents of file will be difficult because we have to manage it ourselves, which is not like humanly possible for remembering everything in every proper directory. So it is the gift which we received from the operating system, as it is part of operating system and its main part. So the task of file system, the file structure, recovering free spaces, disk space assignment to the files, and tracking data location. The file structure, it means that how the files are actually stored in the space available, like the hard disk or SSDs. The structure in which the files are stored. Recovering free spaces. If we delete a file, then we will recover data. But if we are not able to recover that data, then there will be huge problem with our space. So the file system has one of the most important tasks of recovering the free space. Then the disk assignment to space assignment to the files. This means allocation methods and accessing the data from it. So it is also one of the most important because we use the file system to record our data on the file on the disk and to access it. So there are many algorithms which we use for this disk space assignment. Tracking data locations. Like for example, if we want to search something, then we type on the search bar and the search happens. For this thing, we require the tracking of data locations. Then we come to the next thing, file directory. A directory is a location for storing your files on your computer. We can see the directory by typing dir command in the prompt, in the command prompt in the Windows OS. There are two types of directories, root directory and subdirectory. Root directory is the main directory. Like there are normally in a computer, there are 3 or 4 drives like C drive, D drive, E drive. So these drives are the root directory and the folders inside them are the subdirectories. So let's see an example. This is a path of for the system.ini program. So this .ini is the file extension. System is the file name. System32 is the current directory, like the folder in which this system.ini is located. This is a subdirectory of Windows and it is also called as the child of Windows. Then there is parent directory, Windows, which is in the root drive C. So it is subdirectory of C drive and it is also called as child of C drive. So as I said before, C is the uh, main parent or also known as root directory. These are the subdirectories of C. We can also say that. Then let's move to the secondary memory architecture. So first of all, what consists of secondary memory? Secondary memory means the memory which is non-volatile, like the primary memory, which is mainly consist like which you learnt about in the last session, was mainly includes cache memory, registers, and RAM. But in the secondary memory, we have fixed devices and removable devices. The fixed devices includes hard disks, SSDs, CD and DVD drive. The removable devices includes pen drive and Blu-ray discs. So let's know the characters of the secondary memory. It is non-volatile. That is, the data retains when we write when the power is switched off. But this is the exact reverse case from the primary memory. If we cannot store our data and like the device can't retain it, then there is no use. Therefore, we have to keep such a device, such a memory which has to be non-volatile. It is large in capacities, like to the terabytes. Like in today's world, like every laptop has at least minimum of 500 GB to 1 TB of secondary memory, which is good. It is cheaper as compared to the primary memory. Yes, it is also because it is not that much fast, so it is cheaper. So let's move to the hard disk. On the left hand side, you can see a real picture of hard disk. Like this is the actual hard disk, how it is look, and on the right side, it is the the diagram of hard disk. So let's first get to know what is which component is which. So this circular disk which we are seeing, they are called the platters. These are the things on which our data is written. There is magnetic coating on the on somewhere on the both surfaces, or sometimes on the both surfaces, or on the top surfaces. This this arm you are seeing here is the arm assembly. The head, it is called as a read and write head because due to this only we can write our data on the arm. On this disk, on splatters, there are many tracks. Like you can see here, one track is there, and on that track there are many divisions. These divisions are called as the sectors. This platter and the read write head do not touch. They are very close, but they do not touch each other because if they because the disk like the data written on it is in the form of magnetic. So like when we write data, we are not actually writing anything. We are just hovering it. Due to the magnetic effect, the data is stored. I will not go in deep, but something it is like that. And this spindle, it will spin so that the disk can rotate and the data can be written all over it. On the left hand side, you can see how it is, and this arm assembly can only move back and forth. It cannot travel anything else. Like it can go from the end of the disk to the center, but not round about. So therefore, the spindle rotates the disk, and then we can write the data on whole the disk, all over the disk. This is the top view of the platter. This is the tracks, and these are track sectors. As I said that the platters are divided into tracks, and the tracks are divided into sectors to accommodate the data. So now we will see the access time. There are mainly two types of time access time: the seek time and the rotational latency. The seek time means it is the time required by the arm head to move to the desired track. It is typically like 5 to 10 milliseconds. As we can see, the distance is not that much, so it can move pretty fast. The rotational latency, like it is a time waiting additional time for the disk to rotate to the desired sector of the track. So as I said that this spindle will move the disk to the proper sector on which on the track. So it is the time required for that. It is typically 2 to 4 milliseconds. So let's now see file allocation and access methods. The allocation method defines how the files are stored in the disk blocks, and the access method defines how the stored files are accessed by the OS. These two functionalities are very important, as we store a data in the file. To store data, we have to access it, because if we cannot access the data, then there is no need to store it. So the types of allocation methods are contiguous and non-contiguous. In contiguous allocations, the data is written like this, like in the contiguous manner. There is no in the middle there is no other data. Only the data related to the files are stored. So the how the files are actually stored. The files are first, if this is a file, then the files are actually divided into certain number of pieces. Like we cannot store the whole data of a file in single block. We have to use multiple blocks. If this is 1, 2, and 3, then there are 3 pieces for this block and for this file. Then we will store each of this individual item in a particular box. For example, this is ABC text file. As we can see in the example here, it is ABC text file, and so it is of 3 lengths. So we have divided each of this ABC file in three pieces, and each piece will go in each block. So this is the contiguous manner. Like we only like this is okay, huh? This is continuous. It is the advantages are many. Like the easy it is easy to implement, and it has an excellent performance. Like the seek time for this is very low because the data is continuous in manner. So we do not need to worry about anything, and it will go up to the end of the data. But there is disadvantages. External fragmentation is possible. If assume like this 0, 1 and 2 are filled, and then 4, 5, 6 are filled, and 9, 10 and 11 are filled with data. 3, 7 and 8 are not filled, but there is a file of size 3. Let's assume that the name of the file is 1 to 3. No, not 1 to 3, XYZ. And this file is divided into 3 pieces, and we need to store it. But as we can see, there are no continuous space allocation. Like there is no contiguous space. There is spaces, but it is not connected. It is ad hoc. So we cannot store this file with this method. And similarly, there is second, difficult to grow in size. If we want to grow this the size of the file, so like we have notepad and we input some data. After storing that, we will again open it and again we will type something and store it. But we cannot if it is stored in this way, like in 9, 10, 11 block, we cannot expand it. Or if it is in the, if assume that the notepad is stored in the location 4, 5 and 6, and if there is data in 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th and 11th file, there is different file from 7th block. So we cannot write more data in that notepad because there is no space to save it, because the memory is assigned in contiguous manner. So therefore we will move to the non-contiguous allocation. There are two types of non-contiguous allocations. First is the linked list based, and the second is indexed based. Like the linked list in the data structures, here the allocation linked list based is same. Here each block has a pointer. The pointer will point to the next block, and in turn the pointer will point to the next, and hence like this the allocation will take place. In this there is the advantage is no external fragmentation, so that uh, the like in this case there is fragmentation, external fragmentation, like we cannot put the data. But if in the case, let's assume that 0, 1 and 2 are filled, 4, 5, 6 and 9 and 10 are filled. If there is a file XYZ of size 4, like which is divided into 4 parts, we can put this data in this block because there is space like 3, 4, 8 and 10, 11. So we can easily put this data in non-contiguous form using the linked list allocation method, because there are 4 blocks and we can use these blocks. But there are the file size can increase. This is the second advantage, because if there is uh, we only need a pointer to point to the next direction. So if there is any block which is empty, we can automatically point to that block and the file size will increase. But there are some disadvantages. The large seek time. Because of this pointer, a linked list, if we want to read the file, it will take a long time because we have to move from block to block and that are not in contiguous form. So the seek time will increase. Overhead of pointer. As each block is having pointer, the memory associated with the pointer will increase as the number of blocks is increased. So therefore it will take the space where we can put the data. Therefore there is overhead of pointer. Random access is not available, so that we cannot access any block of the file randomly. So if I want to access this third block of file, I will need to go to the first block and then we'll have to travel to the second block and then we'll have to travel to the third block to access it. So it is one of the disadvantages of linked list based allocation. The next is index-based allocation. In index-based, there is if there is a file XYZ which is divided in 4 parts, assume. So there will be 4 blocks assigned to it, but there will be an extra block where the pointers will be associated, like the address where the file is located will be associated with the block number. Like in this case, the in the given example here, the block 11 is the index block, file index block. It contains the indices of each and every block which is associated with the file, and in the sequential manner, like which is block 1, which is block 2, which is block 3. So it is one of the efficient way to store a file, because we only need to go to this 11th block in order for that file to be to search the file contents of the file. The advantage of this index based allocation are like support direct access. We can directly go to any desired block of the file. Like if we want to directly go to 13th block, we just have to go to the 11th block and then to the third place. Then we can go to the 13th block. There is also no external fragmentation here. As you can see, the data can be actually be assigned very efficiently in this manner that no block is wasted. The disadvantages, the pointer overhead. Similar case here, we have to assign an extra block of pointers. So there is the case of pointer overhead. Multi-level indexing. If the file is divided into many blocks, like over thousands of blocks, then the index file will also be like divided into will contain that number of blocks information about the pointers, about the location. But if the block size is very large, then the index file will be also very large. So to store that file, we will have to again create another index block. So there will be 2 to 3 levels of indexing. Therefore, that is a disadvantage here. But one main problem associated with this allocation is internal fragmentation. We cannot stop the internal fragmentation, because if the file is is only contain like a small number of data, and the data size is less than the size capacity of the block, we will still have to give the file a block, and the remaining data, like the remaining space of the block, will be wasted. So it is a disadvantage of all the allocation methods. So now let's move to the disk scheduling algorithms. As we can see in the picture here, the application will request the file system, which is the part of kernel, to give to read or write from the data from the disk. So it will give the track number and the sector number, which you will require for the device driver, so that it can access the data. So there are many techniques. We will discuss here 4 techniques: FCFS, SSTF, scan, and look. Okay, so FCFS means first come first serve. It is like similar to the algorithm, which process scheduling algorithm, which you have learned in the previous sessions. Here, let's start with an example. Assume like the pointer head, the read write header, like this one. This one, we have the position of this one is given at the track number 53, and the request sequence is 98, 83, 37, 122, 14, 124, 65, and 67. The algorithm, the application has requested the file system to give the data from these locations, which is into the disk queue, and the queue is this. So in this first come first serve, we will directly go to from 53rd position to the 98th position, then 183rd, then this along. The total head movement will be 640 tracks. As you can calculate the total track movement from this, like subtracting these two, the distance between these two, the distance between two, adding distance between these two, then these two, then these two, then these two, and so on. It will be total 640 tracks. We have to minimize these tracks in order to increase the efficiency of the algorithm. The advantages of first come first serve are like no starvation of any request. Even if the request is big, there will be no starvation, as we are not giving any preference to anyone specifically. We are directly allowing first come first serve. So the one which will come first will be served first. The disadvantage of this method is the performance. The performance is lower because the total track movement head movements are 640 tracks. Like it had to travel 640 times to complete the queue. So it is like the performance is low. The next is shortest seek time first. The pointer. So let's also take an example here. Assume that the read write header is at the position 53. It is here. So the closest one to the 53 in this queue is 65. The pointer will the track head will go to the point 65. Then the next one, that is 67. It is close to 67. Then it will go to 37 as it is closest to 67, because 98 minus 67 is 31, but 67 minus 37 is 30. So the head will go to the 37th location, then the 14th, then it will go to the 98, then 122, then 124, and lastly 183. So it will give the optimal solution. It tries to give the optimal solution. It has 236 track head movement. While in the last case of FCFS, we got 640 tracks. It is huge decrement from the FCFS algorithm. The advantage of this algorithm is it try to give an optimal solution. It is optimal. The disadvantage is, however, it can lead to starvation of larger requests. As we can see, the request second, which has the track head number of 183, came second, but the request got executed at the last. So this resulted in the starvation of the request, of the larger request. So it is one of the disadvantages of this algorithm. Next algorithm is the scan algorithm. It is also known as the elevator algorithm. This algorithm has direction. Either it will go to the larger side or the smaller side. Whichever direction it will choose, the algorithm will go till the end of it. Like if we go to the smaller side, it will go to the 0th track element. And if we choose a larger side, it will go to the 199th element, 199th track. So, and then it will change the side till the request ends. So as we can see in this example, assume that the track head is at 53rd position, 53rd track, and there are 0 to 199 tracks, like the center one being 0 and the last one being 199. The request queue is 190, the same request queue. And in this also, like as I said, like it can go either go on the smaller side or on the larger side. So we choose here to go on smaller sides. So 53 has small, then 37, then 14. Here are there is no term smaller than 14, but still we went to the 0th position, and then again we will go to the next, like, greater than 53. There is 65, 67, 122, 124, and then 183. The head movements, total head movements here are 236, which is same as the SSTF, making it as efficient as that one. There is also a slight variation of scan available, known as circular scan. The next is the look. This algorithm is also directional based. It will either go on the larger side or on the smaller side. But there is a difference between it and the between look and scan. In this look, we will not go till the end of the sides. We will only go till the maximum and the minimum. For example, we will see this with the help of an example. So the same problem, 53rd position, the track header is on, and the queue is 98 to 67, as we have seen in the previous example. Here it will start from 53, then 65. We are going from the larger side towards the larger side. So 65, 67, 122, 98, 122, 124, then 183. Here we are not going towards 199, but we will directly move towards the smaller sides that are 37 and 14. So in this case, we are different from this algorithm is different in this case only. Like here we have to, in scan we have to travel this up to 0 or up to 199, but here it is no, not compulsory to like it is not going to travel to the 199th position. So here some track movements are saved in look as compared to the scan. There is also slight variation of look available known as circular scan. As it is available in scan, it is also available in look. See look and see scan. That is circular look and circular scan. Okay, these are the only four this schedule algorithms I am taking here. The rest two, like circular look and circular scan, can check them yourself. Then this is the last topic of this presentation: free space management. The system keeps the track of these free disk blocks, allocating space to the new files. Because if there is no space in our disk, there is no use of that disk. So when we delete some files, it has to reuse the space, and therefore the system in file management system known as free space management. This system maintains a free space list which keeps the track of the disk blocks that are not allocated to some file or some directory. This means that it keeps the location, it keeps the track record of everything that we delete, so that the space can be utilized for the newer things. When we actually delete in our hard disk, the file is there only, but only their location and their details from the directory are gone. So the computer thinks that the space is available. Okay, then let's start the methods. There are two methods for this. There is bitmap or bit vector and linked list. In this bitmap or bit vector, we have a collection of bits on each track, like each block. For each block, there are some bits. A 0 bit will indicate that the block is allocated, and 1 bit will indicate that the block is free. So as you can see from this picture, on the platter, on the surface of the platter, there are 16 blocks, and the green blocks are filled and the white blocks are blank, like there is no data. So as we can see from this list, from this there is 0 0 0 0, 4 zeros and 4 blocks are allocated, but the 3 ones indicate that these blocks are not allocated. Okay, this is the bitmap. Then linked list allocation, free space management. In this approach, the free disks are linked together. Like there is one free list header which will link all the free blocks in a platter, and this first free list header is cached in the memory every time we boot up, so that it is first stored in the secondary memory, but later it is shifted to the cache memory so that it can access the CPU can access it faster. The block, it is the very first block of the linked list. It will link together all the blocks which are free. For example, in here the block 5, block 6, block 7, block 14 and block 15 are free. So these consist of the linked list. And so the summary, in this module we learned about the file systems, like why it is important. If it is not there, then though we have to do many things altogether. The disk architecture, how the physical disk is there, the hard disk, what are the components like platter. There is one thing I missed, like how a hard disk can be like broken, or how it will not work, how it will become faulty. There are 2 to 3 cases. Like for example, in this, if the platter touches, as I said before, that platter and the surface are not platter not the head, read write head and the platter are not in contact with each other. If it makes a contact, then the area then we will lose the data in that area. It is one of the important things we have to look into the matter. And the second one is, if the platter gets stuck to the disk, it will be broken. Because the disk cannot move, and the data will be there, but the platter will be get damaged. So these are the 2 things which you have to keep in mind. about hard disks. And there the spindle or the spinning thing can also, the motor in that thing can also get damaged. Therefore the people are shifting from HHD to now SSDs, that are solid state drives. So we have also looked at the allocation methods and access methods. There are two types of allocation methods: contiguous allocation methods and non-contiguous allocation methods. In non-contiguous, there are two types again: index-based and linked list-based. The access methods and disk scheduling algorithms are the same, because the disk scheduling algorithms are used by the access methods. Like, to access an element in the data element, we have to use the disk scheduling algorithms. And then the free space management. For managing the free space, we have to use it. So thank you and stay tuned. But like, we have one short message from our president, Access. Okay, I'm unmuting him now.
Yes, thank you, Sudhanshu. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this session. And I guess you have received the message on your WhatsApp group about our Sunday session. So we have invited Mr. Rohit Saugule, the student of 2020 batch and former Axis president, just passed out. And he is currently placed at Goldman Sachs, one of the tech giants of our field. So if you want a path or want a perspective on how placements work and how to prepare for them, what should you learn in which year, and what topics are important, and how to balance between competitive programming and development, you should attend that session. Okay. And he is also the winner of Smart India Hackathon. So if you don't know what is hackathon, it is basically the event in which you have given 24 hours or 48 hours, and you have to code continuously and have to produce a working application on a given problem statement. Okay. So he will also answer your most frequent questions you have been asking to us, and we have also provided a Google form, so you can submit your questions. So I hope you will attend this session and you will get a right path for your future. And also thank you for joining with us on this 6-day boot camp. We will upload all the videos on YouTube as soon as possible. And if you have any doubts, ask on Google form. We will mail you the answers and useful links. So thank you again and have a great Saturday. Thank you.
The session is on YouTube. Rohit.
Yes. The session is on YouTube Live. Thank you.
Yeah.